The driveway argument happened on a Tuesday morning at 7:15 a.m. I stood there with my hand stretched out, palm up, waiting for Brielle to drop the keys like we'd agreed the night before. Instead, she pulled them back, dangling them just out of reach like I was some kind of dog begging for scraps. Her voice cut through the quiet neighborhood loud enough for Mrs. Chen next door to hear every word. "You're pathetic, Kara. An absolute leech. I can't believe I'm related to someone so useless." My face burned hot. Two kids across the street froze on their bikes, staring. Someone's curtain twitched in the window behind us. Brielle stepped closer, her face twisted with anger I didn't understand. "You touch this car again and I swear I'll have you arrested for theft. Do you hear me? Theft." The word hung in the air between us like smoke. My throat closed up. I couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but stand there while shame crawled up my spine. She turned and walked back inside, slamming the door so hard the wreath fell crooked. I stood alone in that driveway, hands shaking, thinking one clear thought that cut through everything else. She has no idea what she just ruined. My breath came in short, choppy bursts that I couldn't control. Mrs. Chen's blinds snapped shut the second I looked her way. The kids on bikes pedaled off fast, probably going home to tell their parents about the crazy lady yelling in the Whitfield driveway. My hands trembled so badly I could barely pull out my phone to order a rideshare. The app said 7 minutes. I waited on the curb, arms wrapped around myself even though it wasn't cold. A car drove past slowly, the driver's eyes on me. Everyone had heard, everyone knew. The shame felt like a weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. When the car finally arrived, I climbed in the back and stared at my lap. The driver tried to make small talk about the weather, but I couldn't answer. My voice wouldn't work. I just nodded and kept my eyes down. Inside my head, the same thought repeated over and over like a drumbeat. She doesn't know I paid for it. She doesn't know the truth at all. The leather seat under me felt too hot. My stomach twisted with anger and hurt mixing together until I couldn't tell them apart. 7 minutes to work. 7 minutes to pull myself together. 7 minutes to decide what came next. The car turned onto Maple Street, passing the coffee shop where Brielle and I used to meet on Saturday mornings back when things were different. Back before the SUV, before the payments, before everything fell apart. I watched the familiar buildings slide past my window, and somewhere in that quiet ride, the title of my story formed itself clear and sharp in my mind. My sister mocked me for borrowing her car, then she realized who paid it off. That was it. That was the whole truth packed into one sentence. The rideshare pulled up to my office building at 7:43 a.m. I thanked the driver, stepped out onto the sidewalk, and took 3 long breaths before walking through the glass doors. My reflection stared back at me for just a second. Same brown hair pulled into a ponytail. Same tired eyes. Same quiet Kara who never caused problems, never asked for credit, never fought back. But something had shifted. Something had cracked open inside me during that driveway confrontation, and I couldn't seal it back up even if I wanted to. The automatic doors whooshed open. I walked through. My story had started whether I was ready or not. My name is Kara Whitfield. I'm 32 years old, white American, and I work in corporate operations for a mid-sized logistics company in Cleveland, Ohio. The office culture is competitive, sometimes cutthroat. People fight over projects and credit. They smile at your face and undercut you in meetings. I'm not like that. I keep my head down, do my work, and try not to make waves. My desk sits in the back corner of the 3rd floor, away from the windows. I like it there. Quiet. Out of sight. My job involves coordinating shipments, managing vendor contracts, and putting out fires when things go wrong. I'm good at it because I'm organized and I don't panic under pressure. People rely on me even if they don't always say thank you. My apartment is a small 1-bedroom 15 minutes from the office. Rent is $950 a month, which is reasonable for the area. I don't have a car, never needed one until recently. The bus system works fine most days, and for everything else there's rideshare apps. I live simply. I save money. I don't cause drama. That's who I am, or at least who I was until this morning. My sister Brielle is 29. She's the opposite of me in almost every way. Loud, confident, always needing attention. Our parents adored her growing up. Still do. Brielle was always the golden child. Always the one who got the birthday parties with themes and matching decorations. Always the one who got the bigger Christmas presents. Mom and Dad never said it out loud, but we all knew. Brielle was special. I was just there. When we were kids, I learned quickly that keeping peace was easier than fighting for attention. If Brielle wanted my toy, I handed it over. If she blamed me for something she did, I stayed quiet. It became a pattern that followed us into adulthood. She'd call me at midnight needing help moving furniture, and I'd show up. She'd borrow money and forget to pay it back, and I wouldn't mention it. She treated me like a backup sister, the helper, the one who never says no. Family dinners were the worst. Mom would ask Brielle about her job, her boyfriend, her plans. Then she'd glance at me and say something like, "And Kara, you're doing fine, right?" Fine. That was always my role. Fine, quiet, dependable Kara. I told myself it didn't bother me. I told myself that keeping the peace was more important than being seen. But deep down, in a place I didn't like to examine too closely, it hurt. Every single time, it hurts. 2 years ago, Brielle bought a silver SUV she couldn't afford. A Honda Pilot, fully loaded with leather seats and a sunroof. The monthly payment was $680, which seemed insane to me, but Brielle said she needed it for her image. She worked in real estate sales, and according to her, clients judged you by what you drove. The first 6 months went fine. She made her payments on time and posted photos of the SUV constantly on social media. #blessed. #new ride. #living my best life. Then her commissions dropped. The housing market slowed down and suddenly she wasn't closing deals every week. The payments started slipping. First 1 month late, then 2. The lender sent warning letters that she hid from everyone. By month 8, they threatened repossession. That's when she called me, voice shaking, begging for help. "Just temporarily," she said. "Just until I get back on my feet." She made it sound like a loan, like she'd pay me back in a month or 2. I should have known better. I should have said no. But she was my sister, and I couldn't stand the thought of her losing the car and being humiliated. So I said yes. I set up automatic payments from my checking account directly to the lender. $680 on the first of every month, like clockwork. The bank updated their records, so all the calls and emails came to me instead of Brielle. She acted relieved at first, thanking me over and over. But after a few months, something changed. She stopped mentioning the arrangement. She stopped thanking me. She started acting like the car was hers, fully paid for, no strings attached. When people asked about it, she'd say, "Oh, I worked really hard and saved up." Never mentioned my name, never acknowledged the truth. I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't doing it for credit. I was doing it because she was family and family helps each other. I didn't need anyone to know, except it did matter. Every time I transferred that $680, it mattered. Every time she posted a selfie in front of the SUV without mentioning me, it mattered. The first emotional crack formed somewhere around month 4, but I ignored it. I was good at ignoring things. I'd had plenty of practice. The arrangement continued. Month after month, payment after payment. And Brielle's attitude shifted from grateful to entitled faster than I could track. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the way Brielle started using the SUV as a weapon against me. She'd pull up to family dinners in it, making a big show of parking right in front. She'd offer mom rides to the grocery store, playing the generous daughter. At Thanksgiving last year, she actually mocked me in front of everyone for not having my own car. "Maybe if you were smarter with money, Kara, you could afford something nice too." Mom laughed. Dad nodded. I sat there holding my fork, knuckles white, swallowing every word I wanted to say. After dinner, I helped wash dishes while Brielle showed our cousins the SUV's backup camera. I scrubbed plates until my hands pruned, thinking about how easy it would be to tell the truth. To say, actually, I'm the reason she still has that car. But I didn't. I never did. The humiliation cycle continued. Every family gathering, every casual comment. Every smug smile when she drove past me waiting at a bus stop. I absorbed it all, stuffing it down somewhere deep where I didn't have to look at it. Until one day, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The hurt had piled up too high, and the foundation I'd built to contain it started cracking. My job at the logistics company has become more demanding over the past year. Our department was expanding, and management relied heavily on me to keep everything running smoothly. I coordinated shipments across 3 time zones, managed relationships with difficult vendors, and solved problems that no one else wanted to touch. My boss, Mr. Hendricks, stopped by my desk at least twice a day asking for updates, status reports, and emergency fixes. "Kara, you're the only one I trust with this," he'd say, dropping another folder on my desk. I didn't mind the work. I liked being useful, being needed. What I minded was the lack of recognition. Other people in my department got promotions, raises, and public praise in meetings. I got more work. There were whispers about a potential internal promotion. Nothing official, nothing announced, but people talked. A new operations manager position opening up. Better pay, better title, actual authority. I wanted it badly, but I knew how these things worked. The person who got promoted wouldn't be the hardest worker. It would be the most visible one. I needed stability more than anything. I needed people to see me as reliable, professional together. Having my own transportation would help. Being able to arrive early and stay late without worrying about bus schedules would help. That's why borrowing Brielle's car seemed like a good idea at the time. The morning everything fell apart started like any other Tuesday. I texted Brielle at 6:30 a.m. just like we'd agreed the night before. "Hey, still okay if I borrow the car today? Big presentation at 9. She responded immediately. "Yeah, sure, come by at 7. I showered, dressed in my best navy suit, and triple-checked my presentation files. This was important. Regional managers were flying in to review our department's performance. Mr. Hendricks had specifically asked me to present our vendor optimization results. This was my chance to be seen, to prove I deserved that promotion. I arrived at Brielle's house at exactly 7:00 a.m., expecting a quick key handoff. Instead, I found her standing in the driveway with her arms crossed, face twisted with anger. The explosion came out of nowhere. She screamed at me about being a burden, a leech, pathetic. Her words felt personal in a way that went beyond the car, like she'd been storing up rage for months and finally found an excuse to unleash it. Something was different in her behavior, something calculated, like she'd been waiting for this moment. I stood there taking it, unable to defend myself, unable to explain. And when she threatened to have me arrested for theft, something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not visibly, just a quiet internal shift that changed everything. I sat in my apartment that night after the worst presentation of my career, thinking about every single time I'd covered for Brielle. Every payment, every lie I'd kept for her, every moment I swallowed my hurt to keep the peace. The presentation had gone badly. I'd arrived flustered and 15 minutes late after explaining to Mr. Hendricks why I was taking a rideshare instead of driving. The regional managers looked unimpressed. My voice shook through the first 3 slides. I could feel my chance at promotion slipping away with every stuttered word. All because Brielle decided to humiliate me in public. I pulled up my banking app and scrolled through 2 years of $680 transactions. Every first of the month. Never late. Never missed. $16,320 total. Not a loan. A gift she never acknowledged. My hands were steady now. No more shaking. No more shame. Just cold, clear anger that burned clean and bright. I opened a new note on my phone and typed 3 words. No more payments. That was it. That was my decision. No confrontation, no screaming, no dramatic announcement, just silence. Strategic, deliberate silence, and the natural consequences that would follow. I stopped answering Brielle's messages immediately. She texted that afternoon asking if I was still mad about this morning. I didn't respond. She called twice that evening. I let it go to voicemail. By Thursday, she'd sent 6 messages ranging from casual to concerned. "Hey, just checking in. Mom said you seemed upset at dinner." "Kara, seriously, answer me." I read every message and left them all on read. No explanations, no arguments. Just empty silence, where my usual quick replies used to be. The harder part was stopping the payment. I logged into my bank account and canceled the automatic transfer scheduled for the 1st of next month. The confirmation screen asked, "Are you sure?" I clicked yes without hesitation. Then I blocked the lender's number so they couldn't call me about late payments. That was Brielle's problem now, not mine. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not my parents, not my coworkers, not even my friend Janet who would have supported me completely. This was between me and Brielle. She'd made it public. I was making it private. My silence felt powerful in a way that words never had. Every ignored message was a statement. Every canceled payment was a choice. For the first time in my life, I was choosing myself over keeping the peace. 30 days passed with no payment reaching the lender. Then 5 more. I tracked the days on my phone calendar, marking each one with a small red X. Day 35 was when the first call would come. I knew because I'd been the one receiving those calls for 2 years. The lender was professional but firm. They'd call at 9:00 a.m. on day 35 asking about the missed payment. They'd offer a grace period. Then at day 45, the calls would intensify. By day 60, they'd start repossession proceedings. I imagined Brielle's face when her phone rang for the first time. The confusion, the panic when she realized I wasn't covering for her anymore. Part of me felt guilty. A small, quiet part that whispered I was being cruel, that family should stick together, that this was too far. But the larger part, the part that had been silent for too long, felt nothing but calm certainty. She'd learn. This was the only way she'd learn. At work, I threw myself into my tasks with new focus. No more dwelling on family drama, no more distraction, just clean, efficient work that reminded everyone why they needed me. Mr. Hendricks noticed the change. "You seem different this week, Kara, more confident." I smiled and said nothing. 6 weeks after I stopped the payments, Mr. Hendricks called me into his office on a Friday afternoon. My stomach dropped, convinced someone had complained about my presentation or found some mistake in my work. Instead, he gestured to a chair and said, "We're putting together a major project for Q4. Complete vendor network overhaul. High stakes, high visibility. Regional managers specifically requested you to lead it." I blinked, not sure I'd heard correctly. Me. "You're the most organized person in this department, Kara. You don't drop balls, you don't make excuses. That presentation last month wasn't your best work, but everyone has off days. Your track record speaks for itself." He slid a folder across his desk. Inside were project specs, budget allocations, timeline expectations. This was real. This was huge. "I need an answer by Monday," he said. "But between you and me, this is your audition for that operations manager position everyone's been whispering about." I took the folder with hands that didn't shake anymore. "I'll do it." "Good, don't make me regret it." I walked out of his office feeling 10 feet tall. My confidence didn't come from Brielle's approval or my parents' pride. It came from my own competence, my own worth, my own ability to deliver results. I texted Janet, "Big project, drinks tonight." She responded immediately, "Yes, I'm buying." Brielle's social media presence changed drastically around week 7. The constant SUV photos stopped. The hashtag blessed posts disappeared. Her stories shifted from glamorous real estate showings to vague quotes about tough seasons and fake people. I didn't follow her directly anymore, but Janet did, and she showed me the updates over drinks. "Your sister's having a breakdown online," Janet said, scrolling through Brielle's feed. "Look at this. Some family members only love you when you're useful." I sipped my wine and said nothing. Janet raised an eyebrow. "Kara, what happened?" "I stopped being useful." That was all the explanation I gave, and Janet was smart enough not to push. But I could tell something was crumbling in Brielle's world. Her friends stopped liking her posts. Her boyfriend's name disappeared from her bio. Her real estate company's page removed her from their agent roster. The bills were piling up, and without me as her safety net, she was drowning. My phone buzzed with a new text from her. Not aggressive this time. Nervous. "Kara, can we talk, please? I need to explain some things." I stared at the message for a full minute, then swiped it away without responding. Not yet. She hadn't hit bottom yet. On a Thursday morning in week 9, Brielle's SUV disappeared from her driveway. I heard about it from Mom, who called me at work in tears. "Someone stole Brielle's car right out of her driveway. Can you believe it? We're filing a police report." I let Mom vent for 3 minutes before gently correcting her. "Nobody stole it, Mom. It was repossessed." Silence on the other end, then, "What are you talking about?" Brielle stopped making payments. "The lender took their property back. It's legal." "But she bought that car. She owns it." "No, Mom, the bank owns it until it's paid off, and it didn't pay off." More silence. I could hear Mom's breathing change as she processed this information. "How do you know this?" "I just do. I have to get back to work. Love you." I hung up before she could ask more questions. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. Janet looked over from her desk with wide eyes. "Your sister's car got repoed." "Yep. And you knew it was coming." "Yep." Janet grinned. "Kara Whitfield, you're savage." I wasn't savage. I was just done. 30 minutes later, a text from Brielle, "You did this." I stared at those 3 words for a long time. Then I locked my phone without responding. The family intervention came on Sunday afternoon. Mom called first, her voice tight with forced patience. "Kara, we need to talk about your sister. She's devastated. She lost her car, she's behind on rent, and she's saying you're refusing to help." I was making lunch in my apartment, chicken stir-fry with vegetables I'd bought on sale. The normalcy of the moment felt surreal against Mom's accusatory tone. "I'm not refusing anything," I said calmly. "She never asked me to help. She just expected it. That's what family does, Kara. We help each other. I did help for 2 years." Silence. "What does that mean?" "Ask Brielle." I hung up. Aunt Linda called 20 minutes later with the same speech. Uncle Robert texted. Even my cousin Emma, who I hadn't spoken to in 6 months, sent a message about being the bigger person. Everyone wanted me to fix this, to apologize, to rescue Brielle from consequences she'd created for herself. I responded to exactly one message. Aunt Linda, who'd always been kinder than the rest. I typed carefully. "I already was the bigger person, for 2 years. Now it's Brielle's turn." Then I muted the family group chat and went back to my stir-fry. Outside my window, the afternoon sun filtered through trees that were just starting to turn orange and red. Fall was coming. Everything was changing. Monday morning at 10:15, security called my desk. "Ms. Whitfield, there's someone in the lobby causing a disturbance. She says she's your sister." My stomach tightened, but my voice stayed level. "I'll be right down." Brielle stood near the reception desk, arguing with Pete, our head of security. Her face was red, her voice loud enough that people coming in for meetings were staring. The moment she saw me, she lunged forward. Pete caught her arm. "You sabotaged me," she screamed. "You thanked me. You got my car repossessed. You ruined everything." 20 people in the lobby turned to watch. I saw 2 of my coworkers near the elevators, phones out, probably recording. My face burned, but I kept my voice quiet and calm. "You need to leave, Brielle. Not until you fix this. There's nothing to fix. You stopped paying your bills, that's not my problem." "I stopped paying because you..." Pete stepped between us. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the building." Brielle tried to push past him. Pete radioed for backup. 2 more security guards appeared. They escorted her out while she screamed about family betrayal and lies. The glass doors closed. The lobby fell silent. Everyone was staring at me. Mr. Hendricks appeared at the top of the stairs. "Kara, my office, now." I followed Mr. Hendricks up the stairs, expecting the worst. Termination, suspension. At minimum, a formal warning about keeping personal drama out of the workplace. Instead, he closed his office door, gestured to a chair, and said, "That was your sister." "Yes. And the situation, personal family issue, won't happen again." He leaned back in his chair, studying me. "You handled that with remarkable composure. Most people would have escalated. You stayed calm, kept your voice down, didn't engage." I didn't know what to say to that. He continued. "The regional director was in the lobby for that entire scene. He called me 5 minutes ago." My heart sank. This was it. I was fired. He was impressed. Said, "You demonstrated exactly the kind of steady leadership we need in management positions. So here's the deal. The operations manager position is officially yours if you want it. 15% raise, your own office, 3 direct reports, and you're leading that Q4 project we discussed." I stared at him, not processing. "The position is mine. Contingent on accepting it, yes. Because I stayed calm while my sister had a meltdown in our lobby," he smiled. "Because you've proven yourself 100 times over, and today was just confirmation. Do you want the job?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Good. HR will have papers for you by the end of day." "Congratulations, Kara." I walked out of his office in a daze. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd stayed quiet and competent and reliable for, was finally happening. Brielle's social collapse accelerated after the lobby incident. Someone filmed the whole thing and posted it to a local Facebook group. Within 2 days, it had 50,000 views and 300 comments. Most of them weren't kind. People she knew from real estate, people she'd worked with, people from our hometown, all weighing in. Always knew she was entitled. I feel bad for my sister. Imagine screaming at someone's workplace. Her friends distanced themselves fast. No more tagged photos. No more dinner invitations. Her Instagram follower count dropped by 200 in a week. Someone at her real estate company's main office saw the video. They'd already let her go for poor performance, but now they sent a cease and desist letter demanding she stop using their name in any capacity. Her boyfriend broke up with her via text. She posted a vague story about it. "When your world falls apart, you learn who really cares." 0 responses. The irony wasn't lost on me. Everything she'd mocked me for, being invisible, being unmarried, being unremarkable, was now her reality. Except worse, because she'd had attention and lost it. She'd had status and destroyed it. I felt no satisfaction in her suffering, just a quiet, tired relief that it was over. The chapter of my life where Brielle could humiliate me was closed. The envelope arrived on a Saturday morning 3 weeks later. Certified mail from the auto lender, forwarded from my old address on file. I opened it carefully and pulled out a single sheet of paper. Payment history for account ending in 4782. 2 full pages of line items. Every $680 payment listed by date. And at the bottom, in bold, primary account holder through final payment, Cara Whitfield. I stared at that line for a long time. This was proof. Undeniable official proof of everything I'd done for 2 years. Everything Brielle had pretended didn't exist. I took a photo of the document and attached it to a text message to Brielle. No words, just the image. Then I blocked her number before she could respond. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom, I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Cara, your sister just called me hysterical. She said she didn't know you'd been paying for her car. She knew. She says she thought it was a temporary thing that you offered. I did offer for 1 or 2 months, not 2 years. I could hear Mom breathing hard, processing. Finally, why didn't you tell us? Because it wasn't about credit, Mom. It was about helping my family. Until she made it about humiliating me instead. Mom didn't apologize. She didn't admit she'd been wrong. She just said, I need to call you back, and hung up. I sat in my new office the following Monday, looking out at the city's skyline. Glass buildings reflected morning sun. Traffic moved in slow streams below. My name was on the door, Cara Whitfield, operations manager. My desk was clean, organized, ready for the week ahead. I had 3 direct reports waiting for direction. I had a budget to manage. I had authority I'd never had before. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Brielle had gotten a new phone. The message was long, rambling, apologetic. She explained that she'd been stressed, that she didn't mean the things she'd said, that she'd assumed I wanted to help, that she never realized how much I'd sacrificed. She said she wanted to fix things, to make it right, to rebuild our relationship. I read the entire message twice. Then I deleted it without responding. I could confront her. I could send her copies of every payment. I could forward her video from the lobby. I could rub the truth in her face until she choked on it. Or I could choose peace. Real peace. Not the fake peace I'd maintained for years by staying silent and small, but the genuine peace that came from walking away. My silence became revenge. Not responding was more powerful than any angry text I could send. I turned off my phone, opened my project files, and started my day. News about Brielle's situation trickled in through family channels I couldn't completely block. She applied for a car loan at 3 different dealerships, denied every time due to poor credit. Her apartment lease came up for renewal. The landlord saw the repossession on her record and denied her. She received an eviction notice for unpaid rent 2 months later. She asked Mom and Dad for money. They gave her $500 once, then told her she needed to figure things out like an adult. She asked Uncle Robert. He said no. She asked Aunt Linda. Also no. Word had gotten around about the car situation, about the lobby scene, about the 2 years I'd covered for her. The family's sympathy had evaporated. She tried to explain that it wasn't her fault that I'd offered that she didn't know. But the evidence existed. The payment history. The dates. Nobody believed her version anymore. By December, she'd moved into a friend's spare room and was working retail at a mall store for $14 an hour. No commission, no flexibility, no prestige. Everything she'd built her identity around was gone. And slowly, quietly, she was learning what I'd known for years, that you can't build a life on other people's sacrifice. That entitlement isn't the same as earning. That arrogance eventually destroys everything you touch. I bought my car on a clear Saturday in early January. Nothing fancy. A reliable Honda Civic, 3 years old, low mileage, excellent condition. The monthly payment was $340, exactly half of what I'd been paying for Brielle's SUV. The dealer handed me the keys, and I sat in the driver's seat for a full minute just breathing. This was mine. Completely, legally, undeniably mine. Nobody could take it. Nobody could mock me for not having it. I drove straight to my new apartment. I'd moved the week before into a modern complex with underground parking and an actual gym. Rent was $1,250, but I could afford it now with my raise. The place had big windows, updated appliances, and neighbors who smiled in the hallway. No more bus schedules. No more depending on anyone. Just clean, simple independence. At work, My team threw a small celebration for my 3-month anniversary as operations manager. Janet brought cupcakes. Mr. Hendricks made a speech about exceeding expectations. My direct reports gave me a coffee mug that said "Best Boss." I'd never felt so seen, so valued, so respected for exactly who I was. That night, I drove my car through the city with the windows down, cold January air rushing in, and I smiled for the first time in months. Looking back now, I understand something I didn't before. I didn't ruin my sister's life. She sabotaged herself. Every choice she made, from buying a car she couldn't afford to treating me like dirt while I kept her afloat, those were her decisions. I just stopped enabling them. The hardest lesson I learned was that keeping the peace isn't the same as keeping your dignity. For years, I thought that staying quiet and helpful and small would somehow earn me love and respect from my family. It didn't. It just taught them I was disposable. My silence now isn't cruel. It's clear. Brielle has my number. She knows where I work. She could reach out any time with a real apology, with changed behavior, with genuine respect for what I did for her. She hasn't. And maybe she never will. I'm okay with that. I drive to work each morning in my car, park in my designated spot, and walk into my office with my head high. I've stopped shrinking myself to make other people comfortable. I've stopped apologizing for taking up space. When you finally stop sacrificing yourself to keep the peace, you realize how much power you had all along. The power to choose yourself. The power to walk away. The power to build a life that doesn't depend on anyone's approval. That's what I found in the wreckage of my relationship with Brielle. Not bitterness, not revenge, but freedom. What would you do in this situation? If you've ever dealt with family members who took advantage of your kindness, I'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below and hit subscribe to follow more real-life stories about finding your strength when everything falls apart.